Hey everybody, welcome to Folklore and Flourish. Here with Jane and Mark on take 2 of our intro. What?
Why do you always tell people when we fuck up that we got to do
Because
edits?
let the people know we're not perfect. Fake news. It's
What?
March 4th, people. It's March 4th. Mark's here with fake news.
Fake dates.
Fake dates and fake news. He skipped it. He just said no to the 4th. We are still in week 1, the call. We're in the month of trials and destiny, the tested hero. Today, our tested hero during the call has reached the doubt. We have reached our first little bit of doubt, hesitation, a little bit of a wobble from our hero, where we don't know whether it's going to go anywhere or not. Are they going to be hero or villain, or are they just passing? Right? Our theme is that fear rises intentionally at a pivotal moment, right? So we're looking at fear rising in 4 different individuals today, some very drastic, some very silent doubts, but all very significant for a lot of reasons. But we're going to look at them through Hebrew, Hindu, Sumerian, and Buddhist folklore today. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1, Jonah in the flight to Tarshish. In the prophetic literature of ancient Israel, the call of God was rarely gentle. It did not flatter, it did not negotiate, it commanded. The book of Jonah, set within the Assyrian era of the 8th century BCE, begins without introduction to the prophet's character. The word of the Lord comes directly to Jonah, son of Amittai. Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry out against it. Nineveh was no ordinary destination. It was the capital of the Assyrian Empire, a political and military force feared throughout the Near East. Assyria was known for conquest, siege, warfare, and domination. For an Israelite prophet to be sent not merely to pronounce judgment, but to preach within its borders was unthinkable. Jonah does not argue theology, he runs. Instead of traveling northeast toward Nineveh, he goes west to the port of Joppa, where he boards a ship bound for Tarshish, a distant and possibly western Mediterranean destination, symbolically the edge of the known world. The text emphasizes direction. The call is east. Jonah moves west. Fear does not always appear as trembling. Sometimes it is movement in the opposite direction. Jonah pays the fare. He descends into the ship. He sleeps in its inner hold. The descent language is repeated, down to Joppa, down into the ship, down into sleep. His retreat is physical and spiritual. The sea responds. A violent storm rises, threatening to break the vessel apart. Sailors cry out to their own gods. They cast cargo overboard to lighten the ship. Jonah remains asleep below deck until the captain confronts him. How can he sleep? Call on your God. Lots are cast to determine the cause of calamity. The lot falls on Jonah. He confesses, I am a Hebrew and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. The sailors understand immediately what Jonah resists. One does not flee from the maker of sea and land by boarding a ship. The sea grows more violent. Jonah instructs them to throw him overboard. This is not yet obedience. It is resignation. When he is cast into the sea, the waters calm, but the narrative does not end with drowning. A great fish, prepared by God, swallows Jonah. He remains in its belly 3 days and 3 nights. The fish is often read as miraculous rescue. It is also confinement. Jonah's flight does not free him from calling. It encloses him within it. Inside the creature, surrounded by darkness and sea, he prays. The prayer recorded in the text acknowledges distress and deliverance, but does not yet articulate willingness to preach to Nineveh. It is gratitude for survival more than embrace of mission. The fish delivers him back to dry land. The call comes again. Arise, go to Nineveh. The narrative of Jonah's later preaching and Nineveh's repentance belongs to the subsequent threshold. The first crisis is doubt. Jonah feared not incapacity, but mercy. Later in the book, he reveals his resistance explicitly. He knew that God was gracious and compassionate. He feared that Nineveh might repent and be spared. His hesitation was theological and national. He did not want enemies forgiven. The burden of prophetic mission included confronting one's own prejudice. The threshold in Jonah's story is not merely physical flight. It is the movement he realizes that avoidance does not nullify destiny. The sea does not permit escape. The fish does not permit annihilation. He is preserved for the mission he dreads. Ancient Israelite prophecy does not self-select vocation. It was imposed calling. Jeremiah protested youth. Moses protested speech. Jonah protested compassion. Fear rose. The hero wobbled. Jonah's descent into the ship and into the sea reflects the instinct to withdraw when the cost of obedience feels too high. Nineveh represented danger, humiliation, and the possibility of mercy toward enemies. The spring thaw does not ask whether the river wishes to flow. It breaks ice regardless. Jonah's hesitation reveals something essential. Doubt precedes movement. He runs before he walks towards Nineveh. He sinks before he stands. But he cannot erase the call. The sea will not allow it. The fish will not allow it. The word remains. Story 2, Arjuna's trembling before the battle. The conches had already sounded. Across the plain of Kurukshetra, armies stood assembled in full formation. Standards bearing emblems of lineage fluttered in dry wind. Elephants shifted beneath armor. Chariots aligned wheel to wheel. What had been negotiated, delayed, and debated for years had narrowed into a single horizon of confrontation. Arjuna, third of the Pandava brothers, was not a novice entering combat. He had trained since youth in archery under the master Jonah. He had fought in skirmishes and tournaments. His bow, the Gandava, was legendary. Among warriors, his reputation was established. But this field was not anonymous. At his request, Krishna, serving as his charioteer, drove the chariot between the two armies. From that central position, Arjuna surveyed both sides. What he saw was not enemy alone. He saw his grandsire, Bhishma, who had cradled him in childhood. He saw his teacher, Drona. He saw cousins, uncles, friends who had once shared festival and training ground. The lines of battle cut through family. His body reacted before philosophy could steady it. My limbs fail, he said. My mouth is dry. My skin burns. The Gandava slips from my hand. This is not a metaphor. It is psychological hesitation. The Mahabharata, in which the Bhagavad Gita is embedded, does not present Arjuna as coward. It presents him as morally overwhelmed. He questions the righteousness of a war that will annihilate kin. Even if victory is secured, he asks, what joy remains in ruling a kingdom soaked in familial blood? He lowers his bow. The hero wobbles. Arjuna proposes renunciation. Better to live on alms than to gain sovereignty through slaughter. Better to withdraw than to fracture dharma, sacred order. Krishna does not dismiss his fear. He reframes it. He speaks first of the Atman, the enduring self beyond bodily death. The self is not slain when the body is slain. The argument is not to trivialize death, but to place it within a larger metaphysical frame. Then he turns to duty. For a Kshatriya, a warrior ruler, participation in just battle is not personal aggression. It is obligation with social order. To abandon that obligation out of attachment to comfort or aversion to pain would constitute its own distortion of Dharma. Arjuna's doubt is not lack of strength, it is conflict between roles. He is warrior and nephew, student and adversary, protector and destroyer. Krishna reveals the universal form, showing himself as encompassing all beings, all time. In that vision, Arjuna sees that those arrayed for battle are already within the flow of cosmic disillusion. He is not sole author of their fate. He is participant within a vast unfolding. Yet Krishna does not compel mechanically. He instructs, he reasons, he reveals. Then he leaves the choice to Arjuna. Reflect on this fully, he says, and then act as you choose. The threshold is here. Arjuna could step down from the chariot. He could renounce his claim. He could refuse the battle and accept exile. Instead, after instruction, he steadies himself. My delusion is destroyed, he says. I will act according to your word. The wobble does not disqualify him. It clarifies him. The ancient Indian epic does not hide the tremor. It records it as essential. Without the moment of collapse, the teaching would not emerge. Without hesitation, there would be no revelation of Dharma articulated for generations. Arjuna's fear is not eradicated by triumph. It is integrated by understanding. The battle that follows devastates both sides. The cost is immense. Sons die, teachers fall, kingdoms are reshaped. The epic does not romanticize outcome. But the turning point remains that central pause between armies. In early spring, ice cracks before water flows freely. There is a moment where pressure builds and structure trembles. That trembling is not failure, it is transition. Arjuna trembled. He questioned. He lowered his bow. Then he lifted it again. The tested hero archetype does not require unbroken certainty. It requires return after doubt. The conches sounded once more, and he advanced. Story 3, Inanna before the descent. In the cities of ancient Sumer, where mud brick temples rose above irrigated plains, Inanna was not a minor deity. She was a goddess of love, war, fertility, and political power. Her temples stood in Uruk and other major cities. Kings traced legitimacy through her favor. She embodied both generative and destructive force. Yet even Inanna faced a threshold she did not cross lightly. The Sumerian composition, often titled Inanna's Descent, records her decisions to descend to the underworld, the realm ruled by her sister, Ereshkigal. The underworld was not metaphor, it was Kur, the land of no return, where the dead dwelled in dust and shadow. The reason for Inanna's descent varies across versions. In some, she seeks to attend the funeral of Ereshkigal's husband. In others, she seeks to extend power into the realm below. Whatever the motive, the descent is deliberate. Before she goes, she prepares. This preparation reveals hesitation. Inanna does not rush blindly into Kur. She adorns herself in full regalia, the crown of heaven, the lapis lazuli necklace, the royal robe, the breastplate, the measuring rod, and line of authority. Each item represents a domain of power. She arms herself not with weapons, but with identity. Then she turns to Ninshubur, her trusted minister. If I do not return, she instructs, raise lament, go to the great gods, seek aid. This is not the language of arrogance. It is the language of foreknowledge. Inanna anticipates danger. She names contingency. She gives instructions for rescue before stepping into the threshold. The gates of the underworld are 7 in number. At each gate, in the full descent narrative, she is stripped of one item of power. But before even approaching those gates, the text emphasizes her awareness of risk. She sends word ahead. She declares intention. She prepares for absence. The Sumerian worldview treated the underworld as inescapable for mortals. For a goddess to descend voluntarily was extraordinary. It implied confrontation with mortality's domain. The fear here is not panic. It is calculated awareness. Inanna knows that descent entails vulnerability. She does not deny it. She compensates through ritual instruction. When she arrives at the gates of Kur, the gatekeeper, Neti, questions her. Entry is not automatic. Permission is sought. Messages are sent to Ereshkigal. This delay heightens tension. Inanna waits outside the realm of the dead. Her hesitation is not withdrawal, but recognition of magnitude. In Sumerian thought, power was not infinite even among gods. Domains were distinct. To cross into another's realm required consequence. Ereshkigal ruled the underworld with authority equal to Inanna's rule above. Descent meant entering a sphere where one's own titles carried less weight. The narrative that follows is stark. Inanna is judged, struck, and hung upon a hook. But that outcome is prepared for by her initial caution. Because she has instructed Ninshubur beforehand, lament rises when she does not return. Because she anticipated peril, intervention becomes possible. Her wobble is strategic. She does not deny destiny, she fortifies against it. The descent myth functioned within Sumerian ritual cycles, possibly linked to seasonal patterns of fertility and dormancy. The goddess's temporary absence mirrored agricultural cycles of barrenness before renewal. Spring does not arrive without winter's shadow. Inanna's preparation before descent reflects a universal threshold moment. The recognition that entering deeper purpose will cost status, comfort, and even identity. She could have remained in her temples, ruling love and war. She chose to confront the realm beneath, but she did not do so casually. She arranged for witness. She secured advocate. She acknowledged fear without surrendering intention. The tested hero archetype includes this pause. Inanna stands before the gates of Kur, crowned and adorned, fully aware that those adornments may be removed. She chooses descent not because she feels invincible, but because the crossing matters. The gates open. She steps forward. Story 4. Siddhartha beneath the Bodhi tree. Before he was called the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama was a prince who had already abandoned one life. Born in the region of Lumbini, traditionally dated to the 5th or 6th century BCE, he was raised within privilege among the Shaka clan, protected from illness, aging, and death in youth. He eventually encountered the realities of suffering beyond palace walls. Those encounters catalyzed his renunciation. He left behind wife, child, inheritance. But renunciation did not bring immediate clarity. Siddhartha sought teachers. He mastered meditative states under ascetics who emphasized concentration and transcendence. He practiced severe austerities, reducing food to almost nothing. The text described his body as skeletal, his spine visible through his abdomen. He became emblem of self-denial. He believed that if suffering defined existence, perhaps extreme deprivation would conquer it. It did not. After years of asceticism near the banks of the Nairanjana River, he collapsed. The body he had disciplined nearly failed him. In that weakness, he accepted a bowl of milk rice from a village woman named Sujata. This acceptance marked hesitation. His fellow ascetic interpreted it as failure. They abandoned him, believing he had relinquished resolve. In truth, Siddhartha had begun to question the path of extremity. Severe self-denial had not produced awakening. It had produced exhaustion. He sat beneath a fig tree, later known as the Bodhi tree, resolving not to rise until he attained understanding. But doubt did not vanish because he sat. The Buddhist tradition preserves the account of Mara, the embodiment of temptation and obstruction. Mara challenged Siddhartha's right to seek liberation. He sent daughters representing desire. He sent armies representing fear. He whispered that Siddhartha had no authority to claim awakening. This is the wobble. Siddhartha had left wealth behind. He had endured asceticism nearly to death. Now, at the threshold of possible awakening, internal and external doubt converged. The earth beneath him was witness. When Mara questioned his worthiness, Siddhartha touched the ground. The gesture, known as Bhumi Sparsha, called the earth to testify to his accumulated merit across lifetimes. He did not argue loudly. He did not rise to battle. He remained seated. The hesitation here is subtle but profound. Siddhartha could have risen from the tree after abandoning asceticism, concluding that no path yielded release. He could have returned to palace life or continued wandering without resolution. Instead, he chose the middle way. The doubt he faced was not only temptation, but internal uncertainty. Had he wasted years? Had he misunderstood the path? Was awakening illusion? The tradition records that through the night he encountered successive realizations. memory of past lives, understanding of karma and rebirth, insight into the Four Noble Truths. At dawn, he attained enlightenment. But that dawn rests on the prior near abandonment. The middle way emerges precisely because extremes failed. Siddhartha's story reflects early Indian debates over asceticism, ritual sacrifice, and philosophical inquiry. The path he articulated rejected both indulgence and self-mortification. It required clarity through disciplined attention rather than dramatic conquest. The threshold was interior. He sat where others had left him. He remained when doubt pressed. In early spring, thaw does not occur because cold disappears. It occurs because warmth persists longer than frost. Siddhartha's hesitation before awakening humanizes the narrative. Enlightenment was not instantaneous, revelation granted without struggle. It followed experimentation, miscalculation, physical depletion, and psychological challenge. He wobbled between extremes. He nearly abandoned the quest. He chose stillness instead of retreat. When dawn broke, he was called Buddha, the awakened one. But awakening stands on the other side of doubt. Hey everybody, welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed those 4 stories all about the doubt. Doubt creeping in on our heroes is never fun. Even when we watch it in the movies, it's like when you're rooting for them, but you feel that. You feel that doubt that we all face, not once, multiple times with every decision we have pretty much. With the daily thread for today, though, fear rises when destiny becomes real. Jonah ran before he walked towards Nineveh. Arjuna trembled before lifting his bow. Inanna prepared for descent because she knew power could be stripped. Siddhartha nearly abandoned the path before choosing stillness beneath the tree. Where in your life is hesitation revealing the edge of transformation? Heroes wobble first, then they step. I just really liked how all of these ended exactly how they were meant to. But, starting very beginning with Jonah, his doubt made him run. So, like when we're panicking, fight, flight, or freeze, right? Flight, took off.
Yep.
And then knew that he was putting everyone else in danger and just throw me overboard. And there was no escape. So it didn't matter how much Jonah doubted. His path was set. And the reason that he was doubting and the reason that he ran was because he didn't know fully why yet. Until he was sitting in that whale, or the fish, some interpretations say the whale, but the fish, and he didn't want to go because he didn't want his enemies to find mercy.
Yeah, when I heard that, I was like, oh. I don't know if I've ever heard that. I don't know very
much about the Jonah story, truly.
No, I just know he got swallowed. I didn't know that he didn't want his enemies to be better.
I didn't know that was part of it, yeah.
Yeah, not at all.
To fear your God because you know the power of your God, but you also know his love and mercy. So if they repent, my God is merciful. He will forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
And they
don't deserve it.
Yeah, but that's not what God asked of you, did he? He didn't say it's got your judgment. I chose you because you felt this way. Our important note for this one is that fear may send us in the opposite direction of our calling. Avoidance can feel easier than obedience. Spring emerges when we realize that running only circles us back to the same command. I think we see stories of people that couldn't avoid their calling, but we don't hear about the ones that did. And there are reasons that they did, when we might. Maybe that's why significant events in history happened.
Yeah.
We know that that's a lot of how war comes to be so perilous towards the end, is because it started with all these steps before it got to violence. People running. Fear is powerful. Doubt is powerful.
Extremely.
And when it's self, that's where it's...
Self-doubt has got to be the worst. You can say whatever you want about me all you want. Mm-hmm. You really can. It might hurt. Some of it might. But most of it I'll be like, whatever. That's your energy. But the second that I say the same thing about myself, oof, nobody can hurt me like I can. So good luck.
That's exactly how I feel, and we've talked about that quite a bit. Of it's because we are the only ones here that know every single thing about us.
Yeah.
Because even if I tell you everything about me, I'm going to be missing huge parts. It's just awful, because if the person that knows us the best, that sees the good, the bad, the everything,
Right.
us, we don't like ourselves, or we don't believe in ourselves, it's hard to even like get up. For me, it's hard to get up out of bed when I feel that, because it's like you just take every sign as confirmation. Fear and doubt for me are so powerful that when I get a sign out in the real world, when I'm feeling them already, it just spirals me into it, right? So I'm not doing things right today, and then I drop a glass and it breaks, and it's like,
because you're pushing that energy
right,
out, and that's why
exactly
more
what it
happens.
is.
That's why it's a big thing, and I've seen it a few times, and there was something else that I was trying to think of, and I can't remember exactly how it got brought up, but that when you run into things like that, when your energy is so heightened, that you got to release it somehow, some way. So you got to find what works for you. I would say go meditate. That's what I would say. But maybe that's not going to work for you. So maybe it's go do 10 jumping jacks. Go scream.
I think it is going to be my Pilates.
Clap. Go do something strenuous for just a couple seconds to lose that energy that you have and make it your energy and make it your decision. Because however you do it, when you're feeling that way, if you can just decide to take that feeling, whatever it is, and turn it into something that you're doing, then it's your decision, and then it no longer has power over you, and it can't hurt you, and then it's gonna just go away. I've experienced it. I don't practice it enough, but just saying this makes me want to do it next time, you know, and remember to do it, because that part is, I think, the hardest part. It's harder than doing the thing to get rid of the energy, is remembering to do it in that moment. So if you have somebody,
it just is really hard when your mind, it feels like your mind
it's a challenge.
betrays you.
Yeah, it's a challenge for
and it's
sure.
Against you, and it does take having someone a lot of the time to give us different perspective or to be there. We have that with Jonah, that doubt in, not necessarily self-doubt so much yet, but that doubt in others, right? So we'll get to the self-doubt at the very end, but he's doubting others' worthiness for something that's not his choice, something that he is already seeing what's going to happen, doesn't agree with it, also doesn't think it's worth him being in danger for. That's ultimately it too. And then we move into the second story, where it's doubt in the mission, right? So standing on the battlefield, and how it said, how can I rule a happy kingdom when it's soaked, like in faces that I know well?
Yeah.
And he did immediately, the mission was questioned, because what am I fighting for if this is the loss?
Right.
I mean, and we've seen it before. It's people we know, but in this one, we hear the names. So it's a lot more personal, going, oh, yeah, that's my teacher. No, that is so-and-so. I know them by name. They aren't just a passing face. They're like a name in my record book that I keep. And now he knew when that bow was raised, who was, if they survived on his side, who was going to be very empty from this war, right? Yeah. So whether you live or die, there's going to be loss on both sides. And even if it's
that's everyone, why they say war, no one wins.
And even if it's everyone on the other side, that's a huge loss to the winners still. That's huge. All that potential, all of those skills, all of those perspectives, all of those histories. I mean, I think the saddest thing about war, that
all the stories that get erased.
Not just the stories, but that's exactly where I'm going. But complete family lines are gone. And not just gone, but we don't even know that they're gone.
Right. They're just a headstone.
Maybe.
Sometimes further back,
but that's
nothing.
Even it. Yeah. It was, they were gone, but their grandparent, so several hundred years ago, there might be something of them. There's no celebration. It's just relief. The war is done, But that's the quiet that comes after those familial, losses. It's not just that they died on that battlefield. It's every day after. It's seeing the people that that lost people too. It's the students don't have a teacher. The nephew whose uncle I had to slay. Right? And living with that every day after. You have to believe in it so much. It is the only thing, that mission. Because we've crossed family lines. It has to be successful, and I have to do something with it, because if not, this is unbearable. Is pretty much what that story makes me think of. Yeah. Because it has to be done. That means I got to do something with it. Right. I have to take every loss that I'm about to take and utilize it.
Well, that's like what I say when I manifest for money. If I'm spending $10 on something for our business, I expect to get 1,000 times that $10 back. I'm going to do something with this $10. And that's the same thing that he's saying, is I'm going to do something with this loss. Mm-hmm. As horrible as it is, we're going to make we're going to make it so people are going to look at it and be like, good. It's like sickening as that sounds.
It's like when characters, I can't think of the exact movie I'm thinking of, but characters, and it's not Endgame Avengers, when they sacrifice themselves for whatever it may be. And there's one specific movie, and I can't name it, but where they tell them, don't waste this. And then they sacrifice themselves. But they explicitly tell them, do not waste my life. And I know...
Was that Iron Man?
No. It's not a superhero movie. It might be a cartoon. I don't remember what it is. I just couldn't imagine that kind of responsibility. The responsibility to take life, or the responsibility to be the survivor. Right. That's survivor's guilt, 100%.
That would be rough.
And then we get into our third one, where it's a little bit of self-doubt, but more doubts of my limits and the fear of stepping into someone else's domain, someone else's power, and being vulnerable. And it doesn't matter what I have on. She had all this protection on, and that was the cost every step of the way, intentionally. It's not, we've read this story several times, and it's not the humiliation of being naked.
Yeah.
It's the stripping of identity and power. And she knew, and it was a good thing she did prepare and doubt. She doubted what she was going to be able to do if she did not prepare.
Right.
She doubted her ability to come back. For whatever her reason was, to go down there, she doubted her ability to get back on her own. Mm-hmm. So she set things in place. So doubt comes for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
And this one, seen it time and time again, but now her wobble, like I said, her wobble is strategic. She strategically used her fear and doubt to control as much as she could, to do her due diligence, and then she still went forward. It wasn't, okay, that person's there, so I'm definitely going to come out. What if something happened to them? What if it was just a slaughter down there?
And that's why doubt is, or can be, a good thing if you choose to use it. Mm-hmm. I really like that analogy of anything can be good if you allow it to be. And it's the same thing with doubt, I think. It can be used or turned into something negatively if you allow it to. But if you allow that doubt, if you truly think about it, and especially in her case, I know when I was listening to it, and especially the way you just explained it, that's your spirit guides guiding you. Like, oh, what if? Oh, yeah, so what if? I better do this just in case. And they're like, oh, thank God. Because if I'd have just been like, hey, you should go do this, I'd be like, I don't need to do that.
It makes me think of, I imagine them almost like having a pen. Yeah. Like our higher selves having a pen and making that clicking sound. Like when you're about to take notes or take note, pay attention. That's what it feels like to me.
That's cool.
And we feel it because it is a shift. And how you were saying that with doubt, it made me think of something I learned early on in my teaching, education. But they said especially with music, something they learned early on was, instead of acknowledging that you're afraid, change it. When you go to a kid, or when you have to go perform, or you have to go any performance, you have to do something in front of a group, instead of feeling I'm afraid, I'm nervous, change it, just one simple word, fear, to excitement. And if you tell a kid early on, and they said they do this to every kid that comes in to learn piano classes,
Yeah.
when they start saying the word fear, they start switching it with excitement. And they started to transition it to, before the kid ever says anything about the recital or going to perform in front of their parents, whatever it may be, they go, aren't you so excited? Do you feel that jittery, like, excitement? They have changed it to where they've made those kids believe that that feeling, that stage fright, is excitement. So they
That's what it is, I
completely
think, though.
rewired kids.
Oh man,
and it was like one of the
that.
biggest things I started doing with kids is, no, I don't think you're afraid. I think you're excited. You're excited to be pushed out of your comfort zone. You're excited to show your work because you come and sit and talk to me for like an hour. I have to tell you to stop. Everyone's listening to you anyways. So it's not fear, it's excitement. But it was just such a powerful lesson to me because they didn't even allow that to go into their mind. First time players, whatever. So they didn't allow, they allowed the parents to watch them say that, or they even taught the parents to go say that to them. And they triggered that pride in, this means that I'm on the right track because I'm feeling this way. So now when they get older, they're going to think of fear because they're going to know what fear is.
Yeah.
But they're going to already know how to conquer it.
Yeah.
Because they've already tricked their mind.
Yep.
And so that's just what it made me think of.
That's pretty beautiful, actually.
Yeah, I like it.
I would have loved to known that sooner.
Our last one is, and we've already kind of talked about this, that self-doubt. So with all of these stories that we've talked about, doubt in different ways, doubt and fear, and how can we conquer it? This one was simply sitting. I don't know what to do because nothing has worked, so I'm just going to continue to sit here because my mind has all these doubts.
Mr. Stupid.
I failed because that's what he's thinking. Yeah, Mr. Stupid. I failed. I pushed myself to the extremes. It didn't work. And now I'm in the middle ground and I just surrender. It's so humbling. And it wasn't just we see the story of the Buddha and, oh, he starved himself. You know, he didn't take anything from anyone. But you don't hear that people are sitting there whispering,
yeah,
you're a failure.
Yeah.
You're nothing. This is a waste of your time.
Oh, you took that? Ugh. Oh, what
Look
are you
at
doing?
You couldn't even make it without this. Oh, but you ate. So you didn't even have that much resolve. Did you really try? And to just, people are threatening and hitting him with all this too. We don't really see that perspective as much. Everyone knows the Buddha, right?
Yep.
But we don't hear that. We hear the physical suffering. We don't hear so much about the social anguish that others also bestowed. And that's part of the suffering that he left his palace to feel, because we as human beings are meant to be here to love others, and we also cause so much suffering along the way.
Right? Sometimes inadvertently and sometimes intentionally. And
this one, it was that feeling of, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to be still. It's not that I'm not going to do anything. I just need to be still.
Yeah.
Because my mind's fighting me. My body is weak.
Right.
And socially, there are obstacles. And it's like, yeah, what I say is worse than what other people say 100%. But when your voice in your head starts taking on everything everyone else says, it's hard to recognize what is their doubt and what's a deep-rooted doubt for myself.
Right.
And he sat there, and his wobble was the cracking of his awakening for all of them. Buddha isn't the only person that's awakened. Arjuna awakened on the battlefield right there.
Yeah.
That's why he picked the bow back up.
Right.
Jonah was forced to wake up. Right. Inanna went down and was just hoping that she would be reawoken. But they all went through a process of awakening. It isn't a one thing fits all. If it was, everyone would follow the same practices that everyone does for their dream. But it's not a one shoe fits all. And that's what's so frustrating. Like, really,
Yeah.
But
yeah, because I could tell you what I'm doing that's working for me and expedite your process. But one, my process only works for me because I'm the one that had to experience every little thing that I had to go through it. Now I could give you advice and you could try some things that I do, and yeah, that'll help. But the exact process, shoot, I don't even remember everything I did, just because there's times in your life where you're just possibly in that suck, where you're just like, yeah, and you're just doing everything. You're throwing everything at the wall, just like what is going to work today, just to get through one day. And then you're going to do it again and again and again. And then something's finally going to start working. And then you're like, holy crap. Weeks later or months later, you're like, I didn't even realize that I'm not sad or mad anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
There's a song that actually, I love it. And I played it a couple times in the vehicle with you. It's called Not Sad Anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And she's asking, what's the day like? What's the date? What's the time? Because I want to remember right now, because I'm acknowledging that this is the moment that I'm not sad anymore.
I love that.
And I love it. And it's like another song, After the Tears Dry. Mm-hmm. Like, after they dry, I wish you nothing but love and everything's okay, because I know it will be. I doubt how I'm feeling now, but it's going to be okay. And then what you were saying at the beginning there, when I watched that documentary today, one of the people, they showed one of his clips again, and you could see on his face, he was like, he didn't recognize it at the time. What he said wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a huge, terrible, awful thing. It wasn't. But you could see he was visibly upset with himself and how he treated that girl.
Yeah.
And it made me like him more. He was always one of my favorites, but it made me like and respect him more, because I always thought, why is he not talk that much? Why is he not standing up? Why is he not? Clearly, he's upset with what was just done. And then I watched this, and it's because he couldn't. It's because we all are afraid of something.
Oh, yeah.
And to be in a place where you are good, you're happy, you have all these things for you and your family. Him and his mom, he was talking about his mom in that story, and to know that it could be ripped away like that. And it's not, I don't want to stand up for fear for myself. We're both going to be destroyed. So I'm going to stay where I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to help you how I can. Because then you see the behind the scenes where that is all that. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Because, wow, I don't know how they made it through. And then you go, oh, it was the people that I did think were the good people. Not all of them. There was one that I didn't like. That after this, I was like, okay, I like him. I like him a little bit.
That's cool.
But yeah, all three of them, though, were afraid of that one person. And it's just how impactful we are.
Right.
That our friends could potentially be afraid of us. Like, that's the part that hurt me. And I told you that. There were a lot of things that weren't okay, but the friend thing was awful. Because when we are helping each other reach their dreams and we're part of that, and we're going and we're going and we're going, and then you cut me off.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine.
Right.
And it's just like, and then when I asked to talk to you, if you just like,
yeah, ugh.
And I'm just sitting here, no power, no voice. I have to be here. And my best friend, it's done. It's done. And that wasn't even the worst part yet. And it's scary. It's scary to live in a world where it requires love and trust. And it requires it without knowing that you're going to get it back.
Right.
That's the whole point, is the things that we really crave. They require faith.
Mm-hmm.
And they require us to feel unbelievably terrible at times, because that's the flip side, is with love comes loss, with trekking unknown places, with doing the impossible, with facing all of these things. It comes with fear and it comes with doubt, but it also comes with awakening. And these stories, and being able to look back on human history and go, wow, like, look what we're capable of. And I've told you that before. Those are some of my favorite stories in movies, is the ones where we see real life things of how Secretariat always thought that they were drugging up that horse, right? That was a big thing. No, He just had a heart twice the size of a normal horse.
Right.
He was a massive beast. We see Louis Zamperini, who made it through as a prisoner of war in World War II. I mean, treated awful just for being an Olympian. You know, we see people who are beat up and destroyed and talked down on. Like the Siddhartha thing reminds me of Desmond Doss off Hacksaw Ridge. He was constantly beaten down because he wouldn't pick up a weapon. And he just wanted to piece the world back together.
Yeah.
You have soldiers. I'm just saying I don't want a weapon when I walk into battle. Just let me heal. And he was beat up and he never turned on anyone, and he still did what he did. Went forward and saved all those lives, right? How big is Buddhism? How many people are inspired by the Buddha story? He wasn't the Buddha before that. He was just a prince that was way in over his head that people were happily telling that they were going to destroy. And then you have other people helping and stuff, but still, he wasn't this person we personify him as today. He was essentially a spoiled person that hadn't seen what the world was like.
And then just decides,
that's what I want. I want to suffer because I want it to be real.
Yeah.
Because
to know
without
what the truth
suffering,
is.
It's not real.
No, that's so
unfortunately.
true.
It's just all these people because they chose not to give up on their mission, on themselves, on their community, you know, on their family, on their trusted friends. And so with the doubt today and fear rises, our lesson is that heroes wobble first. We do wobble first. And I'm saying we because even if we're bad guys, we're villains, we're still the heroes of our story.
Yeah.
We really
Look
are.
how good I did. Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble.
That's a good one. But the question of the day with the doubt is, where am I hesitating? So fear and doubt usually cause the wobble and the hesitation. They might be the very hesitation itself, but we're going to think about that today is, where am I hesitating in my life? And there are so many more things than like buying something, you know, physically doing something. It might be a mindset. It might be, where am I hesitating? I'm hesitating to believe in myself. I'm hesitating to get up in the morning when my alarm gets off, or anything like that. I'm hesitating to pray before I eat. Whatever it may be, it doesn't have to be a big thing.
Right.
But it could be. It could be a huge jump. I might be hesitating leaving my career. Might be hesitating telling someone something they really need to hear. Right? And so we have all that. And so today with our activity, we're actually going to do some deep reflecting. So we're not only looking at why am I hesitating, now we're going to actually write down one fear that causes us to pause. It could be with that thing we're hesitating about. It could be a daily thing. What is a fear that is causing us to pause in our life? And that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to write down one. I believe this is another time safely burn that. I would think. I would like us to burn that as not we're putting it into the air, but we're destroying it. So this going into the air is, this is no longer my reality.
Yeah, you're burning that energy away.
We're not burning it to consume us. We're burning it to be taken. And so I'm excited to do that. And then our final thought of the day is that courage begins when doubt is faced directly. Unfortunately, that doubt will always be there. That fear will always be there until we go right through it. Because I can go around stuff, I can avoid stuff and still get maybe what I'm trying to get done. But that fear and that doubt is still there. Right. And now it's probably twice as bad because it did conquer me once and I didn't even face it. That's the hardest part, is that sometimes we don't even face it, so we don't know. And it's interesting too to think that how many times is there someone else on the other side involved and they're afraid of facing us? So that's
so true.
But that's all that I have for today. Today was March 4th, the doubt. We are all about the call.
That makes sense that it was the doubt, because we doubted that it was the 4th.
Right away.
Full circle.
So
anyways,
tomorrow we get back into more signs, more patterns with the omen. I love the omen. This was actually one that I was really looking forward to for a number of reasons. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see you guys again tomorrow. Don't doubt us. Come back. Anyways, thank you guys for coming in today.
Thanks, guys. Love you. See you later.